check, check, check. 1 2 1 2.
Good morning. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. It is 9:06 a.m. Commission Secretary, please call roll. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. As we move forward with our business today, I have a friendly reminder for all that we are live streaming our open meeting for the public to view from their home or office. If you are speaking, please make sure you speak into the microphone and the microphone is on so viewers can hear what is being said. For viewers online, we encourage you to subscribe to MoDOT's YouTube channel at MoDOT Video for access to these meetings and more. We're going to start the meeting today with a brief safety emphasis from Eric Wilson, Senior Safety Specialist, who's going to share with us what we need to do in case of an emergency today. Eric, the floor is yours.
Oh, good morning. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Director McKenna. My name is Eric Wilson, Senior Safety Specialist here at the district. I'd just like to welcome you here to the Southeast District, and thank you for being here today. We do have a few safety reminders here this morning. In the event of a fire, and we do have to exit the auditorium, the Commission Director and Commission Secretary will exit the rear of the stage to the right and exit to the outside. The audience will exit to the rear through the lobby doors and out through to the parking lot. There are alternate exits here at the front of the stage, to my left, up the steps to the outside of the building, over here to my right, up the steps and through the hallway to the exit door. Please walk to the south portion of the building parking lot, a safe distance from the building and emergency response vehicles. And in the case there is a small fire, there are a few fire extinguishers. I will retrieve those and use those if necessary. In the event of severe weather, everyone should exit to the right side of the auditorium to the main hallway and into the classroom just to the rear of the auditorium. If we must evacuate the room, please take a moment to look to your left and right. That way when we get to our meeting area, you can make sure that everyone has gotten there safely as well. In the case of a medical emergency, there are people CPR certified in this room. Marissa Johnson will call 911 and direct emergency responders to the location here at the Ten and Fine Arts Center. Ron Reynolds has volunteered to administer CPR, and Travis Crafton will assist him if necessary. There is an AED in the lobby, and Tammy Hefner has volunteered to retrieve that if necessary. Lastly, a sensitive note in light of recent events, but one that we must discuss. I want to bring your attention to what to do if there is an intruder or an active shooter. There are three basic principles to follow in case of an active shooter: to run, hide, and fight. Run and escape if possible, getting away from the shooter if possible. Hide if escape is not possible. If you can't exit the building, find a safe place to hide. Try to barricade the doors. And lastly, fight as an absolute last resort. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Next, I'd like to recognize our special guests that are here with us today. We have Representative Donnie Brown from New Madrid County. Donnie, thank you for being here. We have Representative Cameron Parker. Thank you for being here, man. From U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt's office, we have Heath Robbins. Heath's in the back. Good to see you, Heath. From Congressman Jason Smith's office, we have Debbie Collette. Hi, Miss Debbie. And then from Perryville, we have Mayor Larry Riney. Larry, welcome. Thank you for being here. Next, I would like to review a few procedural items. Public comment period. I want to remind everyone that we have a public comment period and are pleased to offer this to every Missourian who wants to come before the commission to address an issue of concern. If any of you would like to address the commission, please sign up before 9:30 a.m. A reminder that you will have 5 minutes for public comment or 10 minutes per subject. Next, I will review our abstention process. There are commissioners that, because of land ownership or business interest, or lawyers may represent clients that may either have some relationship to a matter coming before the commission or may have a potential or actual conflict of interest to be considered or voted upon. The commission member will indicate if he or she chooses to abstain from voting or recuse him or herself from participating in the discussion of the agenda item. If an agenda item is divisible by contract, call, project, or like, a commissioner may specify that particular matter and still vote on the remainder of the agenda item. This information is provided to the commission secretary by letter in advance of each meeting. The commission secretary will duly indicate the abstentions or recusals accordingly in the minutes of each meeting. Madam Secretary, have the necessary letters been prepared? Awesome, thank you. Moving on to the first agenda item, we have the consideration of minutes for the regular meeting on July the 10th, 2024, special meetings on June the 29th, 2024, and July the 9th, 2024, and amended minutes of September the 6th, 2017, April 4th, 2018, and October 5th, 2022 meetings. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as proposed.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next is consideration of items on the consent agenda. Does anyone need to remove any items for discussion later or abstain from any item on the consent agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Next item is a non-action item, committee and board reports. First is the audit committee. I serve on the audit committee along with Commissioner Slay and Baker. Today, Commissioner Slay will give the report.
There is no report for this month. The next audit committee meeting will be held in November of 2024.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. Next is the legislative committee. Today, the legislative committee, I serve and Commissioner Erdman serve as co-chairs of the legislative committee. Today, Commissioner Erdman will give today's report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to everyone for surviving the Missouri primary election. We were delighted that both parties in Missouri have now made their nominations, and we wish to extend congratulations to all winners in the Missouri primary elections, and we look forward to working with the eventual winners after the general election in November. While there may have been a few surprises as it relates to the statewide office and House or Senate districts, the stage is now set for Missourians to elect their leadership in the November general election. Aside from that election, Governor Parson has now completed his review of all legislation passed by the General Assembly in the 2024 session. The governor's $50.5 billion fiscal year 2025 budget went into effect July 1. And while there were no transportation-related measures that passed the legislature this session, there were a handful of proposals which require the governor's actions relating to increasing the duties of the Missouri Veterans Commission to reduce veterans suicides, establishing virtual school criteria and allowing elementary and secondary 4-day school weeks, and increasing the powers of the state auditor's office to engage in audits in local political subdivisions. These public policy measures were signed into law by the governor and will go into effect August 28th unless otherwise designated in the past legislation. During the next month's legislative committee report, I will be presenting MoDOT's recommendations and to the commission to be pursued in the 2025 legislative session. And we look forward to welcoming Missouri's new leadership later this fall. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Erdman. Commissioner Smith serves as president of the Mhtc and Commissioners Erdman and Baker are board members. Today, Commissioner Smith will provide our report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no report this month. The next MTFC meeting will be in October.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you.
Commissioners Erdman, Hegeman, and I serve on the Emperor's Board. Today, Commissioner Erdman will provide the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no report from members. We will have our next board meeting in September and have more to report then.
The last report, thank you, Commissioner Erdman. The last report is the Missouri Coalition for Roadway Safety Executive Committee report that I serve on, and I will provide that report. Later this month, Missouri will join other states in the country for the National Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign. This campaign aims to promote sober rides through the increased public awareness and high visibility enforcement to remove impaired drivers from the roadway. Impaired driving continues to contribute to about 1 in 4 Missouri traffic fatalities. The 2024 Missouri Highway Safety and Traffic Conference will take place September 24th through the 26th in Columbia, Missouri. We look forward to this meeting with more than 500 partners throughout the state to discuss strategies for further reducing traffic fatalities in Missouri. We will also take time to recognize individuals and organizations who have made significant contribution to this mission through their life-saving efforts. As of Thursday, July 31st, there have been 501 traffic fatalities in Missouri this year. This is 24 fewer fatalities than the same time this period last year, which is a 5% decrease. No traffic fatalities are acceptable, but seeing this trend move in the right direction is certainly a positive thing. After starting off the year with an increase in fatalities through the month of March, things have turned a corner, and since the spring, with a reduction of fatalities in 3 of the 4 last months, the month of July alone experienced a decrease of approximately 20% compared to 2023, so certainly moving in the right direction. Finally, I'll leave you with this: buckle up, phone down. Next item is a non-action item. We are moving into MoDOT Director's Reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, thanks everyone for being here. I want to give the commission an update. In June, at the commission meeting, you heard from a concerned citizen in Warren County about the May closure of Route U due to a significant slide impacting the roadway and embankment. And we've been making great progress on this. We've got some images to show you. Those should be coming up here. Looking at those in the May announcement, you can see we were dealing with significant damage. The district had been monitoring this location with some minor sliding, but the significant spring rain events after the previous drought conditions took its toll on this section of road. The location is a couple miles north of Missouri Route 94 near Pinckney. Since the closure, our teams moved quickly on a solution. The repair project was approved in the STIP last month. It was officially designated by our chief engineer, Ed Hassinger, as an emergency project. We obtained the environmental clearances, had design plans for right-of-way approved, and received approval from the Federal Highway Administration to make it eligible for emergency relief reimbursement funds. Very critical part of the process, and it takes some time. Federal Highway was very responsive, and we appreciate that from our division office. And one of the most critical pieces was the landowner nearby donated to the state property needed to make the repair. That's really amazing, and we appreciate that. Just 2 days ago, the project was advertised for bids. The letter of award will occur on August 13th. Notice to proceed will be issued on August 26th, and a completion date of November 6th has been set with incentives or damages of $5,000 a day for up to 14 days. So we're hoping, and this was very much the desire of the community, was to have that open this year, and our teams worked very, very fast to do so. I want to thank the MoDOT employees who collaborated quickly to get contract ready for construction. This includes Northeast District and Central Office staff and planning, design, environmental, right-of-way, construction and materials, and the Chief Counsel's office, as well as the staff on the ground from the Warrenton Maintenance Building and our area engineer. Thanks to the design consultants for their quick work. We also need to thank the cooperation of state and local officials and Warren County, local businesses, adjacent property owners, and especially the property owners who donated the necessary right-of-way. What a great example of everybody working together. It was a bad situation. I think there was a little dissatisfaction with the initial response, but frankly, our team had to assess the situation. We needed to know the scale of the issue so that we could determine the right-of-way that was needed. And there is a process to go through. If the property owner had not been so generous, we might have had to go through court proceedings to secure that land, and that would have delayed us maybe as much as a year. So the work, Paula Goff and her team in the Northeast District really stepped up, and Kenny Boss and the team in our design team did all of this behind the scenes while the public was a little frustrated, but it's all come together, and we're very pleased with the result and the speed that the contracting is going through. So just wanted to bring you up to date on that, because I know you did hear from somebody that was not too satisfied with our service at that juncture, and I think that's turned for the better, and it's just a great result of public-private partnership and state and local officials working together to the public's benefit. In the past few weeks have been an active time for public meetings across the state, along with countless meetings we hold for projects under design. Right now, we're also asking the public to think about the big picture and the future. Our districts are hosting public meetings for the annual discussion on the high priority unfunded needs. I want to thank the commission for your leadership in bringing us to that point a few years ago. I think it's done a very good job of working with the public to look beyond what we can fund in that federally approved statewide transportation improvement plan. Has to be fiscally constrained. But this process has really enabled us to show in a public process that we are hearing the needs of communities across the state for the things that we don't have funded. And the General Assembly and Governor Parson have responded in time with budget resources in the last several years that are extraordinary. And they have been funding unfunded needs above and beyond the capital program. But those have all gone through the public process in these public meetings. And so our team's really bought into this. And I want to thank our planning partners around the state. I see Sarah is here, and the work that Sarah and Oto is doing, and the planning partners here in this region and all over the state. We doubled up their work, and it's having a great effect and benefit, and we appreciate it. Comments from these meetings will be accepted through August 23rd. State Planning Director Lance Taylor will present the findings in a final document for your review and approval at the October meeting. The Ford 44 study is also actively seeking public input. These public meetings are being held in 5 cities along I-44 to give citizens the chance to comment and learn about the environmental study. It covers more than 250 miles from the Oklahoma state line to Franklin County, St. Louis County line. The study is a critical step in preparing for future projects on I-44. Gathering input will ensure the environmental document's purpose and need reflects the identified needs of citizens. The initial study results will be complete in early 2025. So far, more than 750 comments have been submitted, and how fortunate we are that in this last legislative session, the General Assembly and the governor supported a truly historic investment on I-44. And the work that was done in Senate Appropriations, they expanded the footprint of what we could consider. And those projects were all listed last month in the STIP. We're excited about that. In mid-July, MoDOT welcomed 36 high school students from across the state to participate in our Youth Transportation Conference held in Jefferson City. We've got a few photos from the event. The purpose of the conference is to expose students to numerous career opportunities in engineering and transportation. The academic curriculum includes sessions on math modeling, applied physics, magnetic levitation, public administration, and safety. Students also network with top schools and experts in the field from Missouri S&T and Lincoln University of Missouri. Just like our recent intern conference, it's just fantastic to see the excitement of the young people coming up through. They're actively looking at what to study. In this case, we had a lot of juniors and seniors in high school. And one of the questions I got when I met with this team was if they went and studied engineering at one of the Missouri schools, would they have a shot at working on I-70 or I-44 when they came out? We said, absolutely, you will. So, you know, it's really great to see people getting excited about the progress that's being made in the public policy to fund transportation. And it's exciting the future generations that are going to come in and really take on these roles and carry this public trust forward. So our team did a great job with that conference, and I can't thank them enough. Our Andrea Hendricks and her team in EEO, as well as Human Resources, did a lot of work, and it made it a very good experience, I'd say, for virtually all. I think most came of their own will. There looked like a couple were voluntold by their parents, so we let them suffer through with us, but they did a great job, and they did that. Many of them have jobs this summer, so they wedged it in with that. And, you know, if you're concerned about the future, just spend a little more time with some of the young people that are coming up through. They're excited, and they're going to be very capable. So wanted to give an update on I-70. Construction began. Let's say that again. Construction began on the first Improve I-70 contract in mid-July. The first order of work was to set temporary concrete barrier wall for both eastbound and westbound I-70 between Route J and Route M. This stretch is a little under 7 miles, and it's a little west of Kingdom City Route 54 interchange. It's taken crews a couple of weeks to set the barrier, clear guard cable, and prepare this stretch for the work. Motorists who drive through definitely can tell it's a work zone now. Crews are now beginning the pipe work and grading the median. The first concrete paving work where additional lane will be should be started in about a month. It's great to see the progress. I've been out there at 2 a.m. to see, and you know, it's an active work zone, and that's something that I think everybody should keep in mind. At night, there is active workers in these work zones, and please look at the signage, slow down, take your time through the work zones, and everybody will get home safely that way. But our team, led by Eric Kapinski in our engineering team, has just done extraordinary work, and the vendors, Millstone Weber and Company, are doing extraordinary work. So less than a year from being funded under construction on I-70. Great progress. We also have an update today on another I-70 project, the Rocheport Bridge. It's been a bit of a rough go lately with the heavy rains and the flooding in the Missouri River this spring and summer. The entire work yard and contractor roads to the site have been covered in water multiple times. I went to check out the progress on my bicycle because it's accessible from the Katy Trail just a couple Sundays ago, and I'll tell you that entire work crew was out there Sunday morning, putting steel up, making up for lost time. It's a terrific effort. You know, the next work will be putting up the steel girders in the middle section of the bridge by early September. You can see in the photo the gap that remains. If the river cooperates over the next few months, we should be ready to put traffic on the new eastbound bridge by the end of the year. So great progress there, just in time for coming along with the widening of I-70. I also wanted to give you an update. In the early morning hours of July 19th, the security vendor CrowdStrike deployed a corrupt update file, which in turn prevented the Windows operating system from functioning properly. If you were booked on Delta Airlines around that time, you know full well what this was. It was a global impact that hit around 18 million computers and servers. The state of Missouri had an estimated 35,000 impacted. The Office of Cybersecurity brought it to MoDOT's attention at 5:30 a.m. And I just want to say that we have a world-class in the state of Missouri with the Office of Administration. We have a world-class cybersecurity team on hand, and we are fortunate for that. We interface very closely with our MoDOT IS team and OA, but they were on it. Our team quickly began working on establishing notification remediation steps and a plan to recover all computers around the state. By noon, we had recovered most active users working in the office and remotely. The district IS staff did a great job over the weekend taking care of the maintenance buildings and construction project offices. By Monday morning, July 22, there was minimal impact to address around the state. More than 70 of our technology staff around the state pulled together to fix the issues quickly. Great job. Just an extraordinary team, and they did a fantastic job. Very little impact to our services as a result. And another shout out to the IS team. We've been well reported on this and talked about this a couple times, but the Missouri and Kansas Departments of Transportation have a bi-state agreement to jointly operate an intelligent transportation system for the Kansas City metro area, which is called KC Scout. At the May Commission meeting, I reported on the April 25th cyber attack. Staff took immediate protective action and shut down all KC Scout systems to prevent further impacts. Unfortunately, this meant that all real-time cameras, information boards, and the KC Scout website and app were not functioning. We notified the public that it could be months before the system could be brought online, and that was a good estimate. It was nearly 2 months later, on June 20, before real-time traffic messages were displayed on the digital message signs in Kansas City. By July 9th, the kcscout.org website was restored, and on July 12th, the camera views were available to view on the website and the app. I'm pleased to report that as of last Friday, the final connections were made to provide live camera streams to the media outlets. Really critical. And I want to thank all the employees who worked on this MoDOT information systems, communications, emergency response, our central office and Kansas City teams, as well as KC Scout staff and our partners at KDOT. I appreciate all their hard work and cooperation these past 3 months. We learned a lot from it, but we also took advantage of the time when the system was down to re-engineer the back end on that. That's not well known, but our team made some fantastic recommendations, and we probably delayed opening for a little while, but that's going to yield positive results for years to come. So some great work going on in the department, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any questions, comments for the Director?
Mr. Chairman? Yes, Patrick, thank you so much for the update. Certainly want to, say that it's great to hear about the quick plan to get Route U in Washington County repaired and back open. It's a great partnership, I know, that occurred between the landowners, the community, and MoDOT, and certainly your team and the community itself need to be recognized for that great work and for an important thoroughfare. So thank you for that. And I know that the MoDOT team will be ready for contract repairs within the next few months as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. We're going to move on to our public presentations. First presentation will be US 67 update and Ozark Foothills Regional Planning Commission presentation. Mr. Matt Winters, Poplar Bluff City Manager, Mr. Alan Lutz, Ozark Foothills Regional Planning Commission Executive Director, and Bill Robinson, Chairman of the Highway 67 Corporation. So, gentlemen, welcome. Okay. Our Southeast District Engineer, Mark Corkin, is going to provide the introduction to our guest.
Yeah, Chairman, Commission, Director, it's my honor and privilege to introduce to you three very strong local leaders. Matt Winters has been the city manager of Poplar Bluff since 2020. He took his role over from a background in planning. He was planning with the city as well as with the Ozark Foothills Regional Planning Commission. Followed by Alan Lutz, as you said, the Executive Director of Ozark Foothills Planning Commission. He moved into his role from the Assistant Director and brings over 20 years of experience in county government to his position, serving most of his time as Wayne County Clerk. And then followed by Bill Robinson, who's no stranger to MoDOT. Bill worked for MoDOT for 19 years in construction, design, and planning, and now he represents the region well, working with Smith and Company and collaborating for the region. So it's my privilege for them to join me today.
Chairman Boatwright, Commissioners, Director McKenna, and MoDOT staff, welcome to Poplar Bluff, the gateway to the Ozarks. We're glad to have you in town. We hope you enjoy your time here. And we invite you back to explore all the natural resources that our community and our region has to offer. This photo is just one example of the great partnerships the city has with MoDOT. Through some annexations and this sign being placed on MoDOT property, it's a welcome addition to our community as people travel to Poplar Bluff. According to the U.S. Census, the population of Poplar Bluff is about 17,000, and the county approximately 41. However, when considering all the people that work here, seek health care here, are here to attend Three Rivers College or to shop, our daytime population in the city is well over 60,000 people. The population of our trade area is estimated over 160,000 people based on a recent retail market study. It's been a really good year for Poplar Bluff and for Butler County. We're in the path of totality of the solar eclipse in April. Through some planned events and marketing efforts, we saw over 145,000 people visit our area over the spread of 4 days. 45,900 people approximately for the day of the eclipse. We followed that up the last weekend of June with a 2-day Rock the Country Music Festival that was headlined by Kid Rock, Jason Aldean, and Hank Williams Jr. that saw more than 20,000 people attend each day of the event. We've seen a 10% increase over last year in our sales tax receipts and a 15% increase in tourism tax collections to our local hotels compared to last year. Summer is here and the year's only half over, and now we are excited about the state budget the governor recently signed that included funding for Highway 67 and future Interstate 57. Yes, that's me and Bob, or Kid Rock as some may know him. It's also an aerial photo of one of the nights of the Rock the Country concert. We had some skydivers in town for the eclipse that jumped during the eclipse. A photo from our airport that was taken that went viral and was shared by tens of thousands of people. Really interesting photo there. Just wanted to give you a heads up on that. And then if anybody wants to hear interesting Kid Rock stories, so I've got a couple of those. The city has seen substantial growth resulting from improved transportation infrastructure over the years. Those projects included the 4-laning of Highway 60 from Sikeston to Willow Springs, the expansion of PP Highway to 4 lanes, Highway 67 north from Poplar Bluff to Fredericktown, the widening of Oak Grove Road and improvements to the Oak Grove and Business 67 interchange, and the completion of Shelby Road. These transportation improvements have led to some significant growth for our community, as can be seen on these aerial photos from 1999 compared to 2024. Over the past 25 years, the city has seen a 51% increase in sales tax collected. Additionally, since 2006, there have been nearly 1,100 commercial construction projects that have totaled more than $500 million of private investment in our community. As the transportation infrastructure continues to grow and be improved, not only will the growth in Poplar Bluff and Butler County be realized, but also throughout the region. Future Interstate 57 will impact our area for generations to come. As the late Dr. Tom Lawson explained, it's about 2 things: safety and economic development. All of the above-mentioned projects have positively impacted both of those areas and will continue to save lives and provide jobs. Thank you again for coming to Poplar Bluff, and thank you for the investments in our community.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Alan Lutz. I'm the Executive Director of the Ozark Foothills Regional Planning Commission. And I want to talk just a little bit briefly about the planning framework on the Planning Commission side. MoDOT relies on our regional planning commissions to develop regional consensus on transportation issues through transportation advisory committees or TACs. Each year, the regional TACs conduct needs identification and project prioritization for their region. MoDOT consults the regional project priorities when adding projects to its annually revised statewide transportation improvement program, or STIP, And the picture here is a picture of Highway 160 West. And that is an example of a TAC prioritized project that was completed through the MoDOT STIP process back several years ago. And there were shoulders and passing lanes were added to enhance the safety and economic development. Also, safety improvements were just recently, safety improvements to I-60 interchange were recently completed in the fall of 23. Our funding comes from the state to the planning commissions, and we received the funding from the state for provide for transportation planning coordinator. Our coordinator, Andrew Murphy, is here today, and coordinator facilitates the Transportation Advisory Committee, or the TAC, the project prioritization process, and produces regional transportation plan. The region comprises 5 counties: Butler, Carter, Reynolds, Ripley, and Wayne. And the current TAC representation includes presiding commissioners, city government, small business, agricultural, heavy equipment, construction, economic development, utilities, waste management, and consists of 6 members from each county. Example of a project priority list. This is from 2020. The regional priority number 1, you'll see there, is the 4-lane highway from 67 from 160 to the state line. As probably everyone knows, that's been on our priority list for many years, and we definitely appreciate the funding opportunity that's coming through for that. As we already mentioned, will be mentioned again later. And then the priorities 2, 3, and 5 were all completed from this list through the MoDOT STIP process. And then at the bottom of the list there, you got marked with a star, the Butler County priority number 2 that year, which was number 2 behind the number 1 on the main priority list, Highway 67. Was Highway T, and there was 2 feet of asphalt shoulders were added to enhance the safety and economic development, and that's a picture of Highway T at one of the intersections there leading out towards Rockefeller State Park. Highway T project was on the priority list for 4 years and was completed in the fall of 22 and provides the main access from Highway 60, future I-57 to Rockefeller Lake and the campgrounds. The planning process works through collaboration between MoDOT, regional planning commissions, and local TAC partners because it assists with responsible transportation decisions. And then finally, benefits. We fulfill federal requirements, enhances local input and control, provides responsive projects, and public buy-in for improved image. I'd like to thank you once again for this opportunity for our commission coming to our region in Poplar Bluff, and for the amount of funding that's coming our way to continue to finish what we've started with Highway 67. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Chairman. Members of the commission. I believe I've met everybody but Ms. Baker now. Thank you guys for being here, Patrick, Mr. Hassan, your staff. It's an honor and a pleasure to meet with you here in Poplar Bluff. Kind of historic, as I'll get into. We're glad that you're here. I want to briefly discuss the future I-57, US 67 corridor in southeast Missouri and northeast Arkansas, and a bit of history with the corridor. With tremendous support from Governor Mike Parson, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, Senator Jason Dean, Representative Hardy Billington, Representative Cameron Parker, Representative Donnie Brown, and many others. We can say excitedly, my voice, I am excited to be here today to say this. We can say with excitement that funding has been secured for upgrading the 2-lane section of roadway to interstate standards from Route 160 south toward the Arkansas state line. The hard work and effort by so many people over the years is beginning to come together. And that does not go unnoticed. We've had, I'm going to try to kind of give you a bit of the history. We've had a lot of people comment over the years, why is this, why 67, why this project? If you look at the population density across our country, you begin to see the picture of things. You couple that with the freight movement on our highways, you begin to see a little bit better picture. You look at freight bottlenecks, you begin to see why some of these areas that may not make sense on the surface begin to really come into play. This project basically will save time and save money. Let me back up. When you look at the bottlenecks, I was told to stay on the script, but sometimes that's hard for me, okay? This project is important for all these reasons because it saves time and money, basically. We've got 54 miles of two-lane between St. Louis and Chicago. 54 miles of two-lane. You look at that route also, Little Rock to Chicago. I mean, the two-lane section is in need of improvement. The Highway 67 Corporation, City of Poplar Bluff Chamber have a long history of working with the Commission and MoDOT to complete great projects with big impacts to our region. When our efforts in heavy lifting began in 2005, Mr. Dwayne Mickey was on the Commission, along with another leader in infrastructure and transportation, then Commissioner Mike Kehoe. I cannot discuss this corridor without mentioning two of the 67 corporations' founding fathers, Dr. Tom Lawson and Mr. Jim Belknap. They were true leaders. They knew the value of working together. They worked hard to bring people together to accomplish monumental tasks. In 2005, the citizens of Poplar Bluff, led by Lawson and Belknap, passed a half-cent sales tax specifically for this route that allowed the partnership to develop. Between 2005 and 2011, 50 miles of four-lane interstate was built on US 67 north of Poplar Bluff with local, state, and federal dollars. They provided a four-lane access from Poplar Bluff to St. Louis. MoDOT, the Corps of Engineers, the City of Poplar Bluff, the Poplar Bluff Chamber, the Poplar Bluff 67 Corporation, Senator Kit Bond, Representative Joanne Emerson, all worked together to pull that off. In 2016, our partners in Arkansas completed a large project. And they now have 123 miles of interstate quality highway from 140 at Little Rock north to Walnut Ridge, leaving 42 miles of two-lane in Arkansas. In 2017 and 2018, Senator Blunt and Representative Smith worked together with Senator Bozeman and Representative Crawford in Arkansas to accomplish the future Interstate 57 designation. This designation extends from Sykeston west to Dexter and Poplar Bluff and south to Little Rock. The future Interstate 57 designations are supported by the cities of Sykeston, Dexter, Poplar Bluff, and on into Arkansas. Our focus for both states is on upgrading the two-lane sections to interstate quality four-lane. Last year, the Route 160 interchange project was completed with local and state funding. In September of this year, thanks to a lot of folks at MoDOT, bids will be open for the next 3.5-mile project. With the support from Southeast District Engineer Mark Corkin and his staff, Tim Pickett, and many, many others at the district, We have plans toward the remaining 8 miles in the next 18 months. In Arkansas, the Corning bypass will be bid in November of this year, with projects between the Missouri state line and Corning to follow in 2025. Back up. So we had a meeting last week and had some really good photos from some really important folks that helped on this project. As we've already said, it's a team effort, not one person can do anything in this. But we would not be in this position we're currently in had it not been for the efforts of Governor Mike Parson, Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, the folks I've already mentioned, and you, the commission, MoDOT leadership, MoDOT district engineer, MoDOT design folks, Tim Pickett, MoDOT area engineer, Matt Wilkerson, Jason Williams, Tammy Hefner, Eric Kropp, great people. The city of Poplar Bluff, Matt Winters, Mayor Corman, and council, Poplar Bluff's Chamber of Commerce led by Steve Halter, regional planning commissions, Alan Lutz and Jim Grieving. They kept this project in the planning process year after year, and that's been important. The citizens of Poplar Bluff, Dexter's Dave Wyman, Alicia Trammell, Mayor Mark Snyder, Sykeston's Felicia Blanton, J.D. Douglas, Gary Turnbow, Arkansas Congressman Rick Crawford, Arkansas State Senator Blake Johnson, Arkansas Commission Chairman Alec Farmer, and many, many, many others. We are entering a historic period for this corridor. Construction will soon begin and the 2-lane will soon be gone. Why has the city of Poplar Bluff spent millions and communities from Little Rock to Sykeston and beyond supported this effort? Completing this route is absolutely important to the safety of our citizens and the continued growth and economic development future of Southeast Missouri and Northeast Arkansas. So I thank you, commissioners, for your efforts, and Patrick and others for all that you do for Southeast Missouri and the state of Missouri. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions, comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner Hageman?
Gentlemen, sure appreciate your presentation, enlightening us about the important work you're doing down here, and especially this Highway 67 Corporation efforts up here. Big believer, I appreciate your stepping up and be willing to serve. A big believer in the grassroots effort of the tax and the MPOs and developing them up. And it wouldn't happen without gentlemen like you stepping up and serving those positions, and the others out there that help guide us as to what the priorities of local efforts are. So thank you for what you do. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Director?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Bill and Alan and everyone in this community. You know, when funds were scarce, the community stepped up, saw a need, met the need, sustained the effort over time. It's hard to do. It's hard to ask your citizens to chip in with local sales tax, but you sustained that effort. The commission's cost share was critical in this. The commission's and separately the infrastructure bank making funds available to advance that construction, and frankly the work that you did when funds became a little less scarce made this a very easy choice, I could tell, for legislators and leaders in the Senate particularly, and in the House, those that you mentioned here, as well as Lincoln Huff, I think had a big hand in that in the Senate. And so it was really the foundational work that you did. And I know that it's hard to think of things over 20-year periods of time, and there are periods where you get a little frustrated, but your efforts are the reason why so much progress was made in funding by the General Assembly and supported by the governor. Senator Libela, former Senator Libela, was just critical in that effort, as well as being willing to support other improvements around the state because it's good for the state of Missouri. I think that really came through from this region, the support of the investment in I-70, because you know that if it's good for Missouri, it's good for Southeast Missouri. It's good for everyone. So thanks for your efforts, really, and congratulations.
Thank you, Director. I've got several things to say. First off, I lived here for 2 years, 20 years ago. And coming back to Poplar Bluff sporadically over that 20 years, it is absolutely incredible what this community has done. And clearly that doesn't happen without the leadership of folks like you. And there's certainly people behind the scenes in the shadows as well. But it's absolutely incredible to see what Poplar Bluff has done. Kudos to you for doing that. It really is impressive. And when a group of leaders wants to move the needle to make their community better, Poplar Bluff has really laid out exactly how to do that, and it's extremely impressive. Second point that I wanted to make was with the regional planning commissions. Our regional planning commissions throughout the state of Missouri, we have the commission, we have the 6 members here, but they are truly the group that determines where the dollars are going to get spent, where the priorities are within those individual communities. And by the time we get to a project, you have a group of people that are on board with the project. You have projects that have been vetted, and you have very little roadblocks in the way of those getting done. Alan, it was great to see that you laid out the 2020 plan. That's brilliant, and showed what's been checked off of that plan since. So, that clear vision that this community has had, the clear vision that these regional planning commissions provide us as citizens of Missouri, really allow the Missouri Department of Transportation to operate above and beyond and execute work better than any organization that I've seen throughout the lower 48. So it's absolutely incredible. Bill, I will absolutely say that that's about as excited as I've seen you. So the folks in the room that don't know the difference between Bill being excited and Bill not being excited, this was Bill excited. So Bill, thank you for the work that you've done. Absolutely incredible. The whole group, thank you, and appreciate you coming and talking to us today. Thanks. Okay, Mark, you can't slip away, because the next item on the agenda is another public presentation from the Boot Hill Regional Planning Commission, another one of our great partners in the state. And our Southeast District Engineer, Mark Corcoran, will introduce the group.
Well, I'd ask they join me as I introduce them. The Honorable Mark Pryor is no stranger to Southeast Missouri. He was actually born right here in Poplar Bluff. He served as Associate Circuit Judge in Dunklin, Stoddard County from 2010 to 2022, and actually was a highway commissioner before he was appointed to the bench. So he speaks very well for the region. He's respected by the communities, and it's great to have him here as part of Boot Hill Regional Planning Commission. Then we have Donnie Brown. Donnie Brown's a man that wears many hats, was the mayor of New Madrid for many, many years, has been the county engineer. You also know him as Representative Brown, but today he's here as county engineer of New Madrid County. Following Donnie Brown is Jonathan Douglas. Jonathan goes by JD. JD is a Sykeston city manager. He's responsible for a budget over $20 million and 120 employees that keeps the Sykeston region moving forward. And we'll round all this out in Boot Hill Regional with Dave Wyman. Dave's no stranger to MoDOT. He actually started at MoDOT in 1994 as labor and spent 25 years on the MoDOT staff, very well known as an area engineer. He has moved on now, and he's the city manager for Dexter. So it's my privilege to introduce the group for Boot Hill Regional Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mark.
Good morning. Thank you for those kind words. I'm not sure everyone would agree with all of that in my career, but I appreciate them today. Again, it's a good opportunity to be here. I did serve on the commission in the mid-90s, and was followed on that in my spot by Commissioner Mickey, a good friend of mine from the Hayti, Crothersville area, and some connection, I believe, to Commissioner Bowler. Again, thank you for being here today and giving us this opportunity. As a former member of this commission, I know it's good to get out of the confines of Jefferson City. And as a lifelong resident of Duncan County, I share with you that some parts of Missouri, some of the best parts of Missouri, truly are south of Highway 60. So we're good to see you here today. Second, also, as a former commissioner, I'm aware of the difficult challenges you face. At each meeting, you're provided with worthwhile projects, but only a few of those can be funded. And you have to determine how best to do that with finite taxpayer dollars. I hope to give you just a little bit of help in that today. In that regard, three numbers I'd ask you to remember: 1,100, 20, and 4. 1,100 is the approximate number of miles of US 412. It begins north of Santa Fe, New Mexico, ends south of Nashville, Tennessee. 20 is the number of 2-lane miles that on 412 between the Arkansas state line and the city limits of Kennett. 4 is the number of minutes they've allotted me to persuade you of the importance of making those 20 miles into a 5-lane roadway, just as Arkansas has done from their state line south to Paraguay. I'll try to stay within that allotment. The majority of US 412 is 4 lanes, 5 lanes from Walnut Ridge, Arkansas to Jackson, Tennessee, with the exception of this 20-mile gap. This bottleneck is a hindrance to public and commercial travel, particularly at this time of year when the harvest begins in earnest in southeast Missouri. We are an agricultural mecca. Southeast Missouri, the 5 or 6 counties in the Boot Heel, we're 9th out of 12 states that grow peanuts. We're 5th out of the states that grow cotton and 4th in production out of the states that grow rice. Our products are shipped around the world, but these products must first travel on a 2-lane road before they can get to these world markets. Cotton pickers and combines don't mix well with passenger vehicles and commercial trucks. In the past 12 months alone, the Missouri Highway Patrol has reported 25 injuries, including fatalities on this 20-mile stretch of 4-lane highway. People attempt to pass the slower moving vehicles or equipment. They're contributing to this cause of accidents. Also, a project also dear to my heart, about 6 years ago, our hospital closed in Kennett. Healthcare for our citizens is primarily in the Jonesboro, Arkansas area. The only way to get to Jonesboro is this 20-mile stretch of US 412. Not only the traveling public, but ambulances are challenged with navigating slow-moving traffic when time truly is of the essence. Even a few minutes delay can have life-altering consequences, sometimes fatal consequences. I don't come here empty-handed. I know that Poplar Bluff and the tax base that have been supportive, we have observed that, and we want to model that in many ways. But with me today is Mr. Paul Combs. He's the owner of the Baker Implement Dealerships for Case IH. There's 13 or so in our area. Ms. Combs, no relation, economic developers here. Also, most importantly, is Presiding Commissioner Don Collins and our Associate Commissioner Patrick McCaney. They have voted and have expended $500,000 plus to complete the environmental study necessary to move this project forward. We come here with our own money to help make this work. We expect that report to be in your hands in the next 60 days. The right-of-way to change this from a 2-lane road to a 5-lane road is pretty much owned. It's already there for the most part. This area is flat land. There's not a rock or a hill in sight. It should be fairly easy construction compared to some other parts of Missouri. We do believe there'll be money available in general revenue in the next legislative session to help get this project done. We believe we have the support of our elected officials, Representative Parker, Representative Brown, Senator Bean, just to name a few. Also, of our federal officials was Representative Smith and our state senator and our U.S. senators. We've certainly taken the liberty to buttonhole every candidate for governor that came to the Southeast Missouri in the last few months campaigning. So no matter who wins this election, we believe we'll have somebody that understands what we need and what we're talking about when we talk about agriculture and the use of these roadways. When I was on the commission in the mid-90s, we broke ground and expanded US 412 from Kennett to Interstate 55 to the Hayti interchange. Again, Commissioner Mickey, as a banker in the area, was at that groundbreaking in 95 or 6 or so when it happened. I don't recall, again, Commissioner Boatwright being there. He would be quite a young man at the time. But it is something that I know he's quite familiar with as a lifelong resident of the area. We understand it takes a local community working together with state and federal officials to make a project of this nature move forward. We've been doing that. We're going to continue to do that, and we ask for your support in making this happen. Thank you.
So Judge, to touch on that subject, I was not there that day, but ironically enough, a few years later, I was working with MoDOT as an intern while I was in college to build 412. So I'm very familiar with that stretch, no doubt.
The chief engineer, there was some experimental work done with use of concrete and pavement in the area that we talked about. This held up very well. If you haven't traveled the roadway, it's been a success story. That 17 miles we're very proud of. MoDOT should be very proud of. It's worked well and serves us very well today, and we're hopeful we can do that all the way to Arkansas. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak this morning. I started to hold my comments off to the public comment period after Commissioner Boatwright's comment because you said 5 minutes. David Wyman told me I got 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So me and Dave are going to talk after this. But I'm here today to thank you for all the work you've done with our ports along the river. We're blessed with 3 in my house district, Pemiscot County, New Madrid County, and Mississippi County, and 3 excellent directors in those ports who have done amazing work at leveraging public and private partnerships. In the last 30 years, they went from basically non-existent to what they are today and continuing to grow. And that's done with your help. And we appreciate that very much. I know we're currently doing, I think, about $17 million a year in investment in our ports. I'm working in the legislature to increase that. I'd like to see that doubled. And I'm going to give you my vow, and I know Representative Parker is with me, that we're going to work on that from our side, and we would appreciate any help we could get from you all as well. The river, the interstate system, and the rail and the boot heel, we've got it all. We've got exactly what we need to prosper. And then with the new I-57 as well, great things are going to happen here and good people leading the way. So I just want to thank you all for that and not go over my time with Dave. But one last thing I would like to say is MoDOT has a world of great employees. You all have some really great people. A lot of them I've been able to call my friends over the last 30 years. I do want to give a special shout out to one man though, Mr. Jay Wunderlich. The last 2 years, he has been a pleasure to work with in Jefferson City and does a wonderful job. So I just want to say that publicly to you all. Appreciate him very, very much. Thank you all.
Good morning, Commissioners and Director. I'm Jonathan Douglas, City Manager of Sikeston. Appreciate the opportunity to take a couple minutes to give you some updates on some exciting projects in Sikeston that MoDOT has played a pivotal role in accomplishing. In 2023, Carlisle Construction Materials began production of polyiso roofing panels in Sikeston's South Industrial Park, about half a mile south of Highway 60, future I-57. Today, Carlisle is up to 80 employees and 24-hour production 5 to 6 days a week. In 2024 to date, they have produced over 50 million square feet of product and have shipped out over 3,600 trucks from their Sikeston plant. Additionally, their Sikeston plant received the first ever in North America LEED Platinum version 4 certification for a manufacturing facility. The LEED Platinum V4 certification is the highest standard for building energy efficiency by the U.S. Green Building Council, and we are very proud to have that facility in Sikeston and Missouri. The Carlisle project was only possible through a multi-partner effort between MoDOT, the Governor's Office, the Missouri Partnership, Missouri DED, the Economic Development Administration, the Delta Regional Authority, New Madrid County, the City of Sikeston, and our state and federal legislators. Of particular note, 100% cost share project by MoDOT and Missouri DED of just over $2 million widened Highway 61 and installed a traffic signal at the entrance to the Sykeston South Industrial Park, where Carlisle Construction Materials has become our anchor tenant. Almost simultaneously, a governor's cost share project led by MoDOT has constructed a new overpass nearby that lays the groundwork for future I-57 projects improvements in Sykeston. That overpass was substantially completed last month, and engineering is now being finalized for New Madrid County and the city of Sykeston to complete the outer road from the industrial park to the overpass. Meanwhile, MoDOT has also been conducting a traffic study along I-55 and future I-57 in the Sykeston area to determine safe access improvements to future I-57 to allow closure of multiple at-grade crossings in the area. These at-grade crossings are hazardous enough that even today, trucking companies in the area drive several miles out of their way to avoid those crossings. These projects along the future I-57 corridor advance MoDOT priorities of safety and economic development. We thank the Highway Commission and the MoDOT Southeast District staff for their support of these projects, which are critical to the future of Sykeston and Southeast Missouri.
Good morning, Chairman Boatwright, Commissioners, Director, and all my MoDOT friends. The Boot Hill RPC represents 6 counties in the extreme southeast portion of the state of Missouri. Of the 5 planning organizations in the Southeast District, we represent the largest population group. We also represent the most productive agricultural area in the state. Very proud that we can grow anything that can grow, and we do it very well. Your job as a highway commissioner is very important, and we thank you for your work. As you have probably figured out, every person that stands in front of you in one way or another is asking for more money. But those requests are all important because history has shown us that with transportation investment, almost always brings economic prosperity. I know our chairman well enough to know he is a huge fan of the Eads Bridge in St. Louis. That's true. To fully appreciate the Eads Bridge, you really have to talk about the Rock Island Bridge first. The Rock Island Bridge was built between Rock Island, Illinois and Davenport, Iowa. There were 2 industries that moved freight in the United States in the mid-1800s. That was the railroad and the riverboats. Prior to the Rock Island Bridge, there wasn't a railroad bridge across the Mississippi River. The riverboat industry was happy, and St. Louis, at the confluence of 2 major rivers, was thriving. Then the railroad industry decided to build the Rock Island Bridge and began using it in April of 1856. This pitted the railroad town of Chicago directly against the river town of St. Louis. And this was long before the Cubs and the Cardinals. This bridge included some well-known names in our nation's history as well. When the railroad was planning its construction, they employed the surveying expertise of a young lieutenant in the Army named Robert E. Lee to complete the location and layout survey for the bridge. The riverboat industry opposed the construction, and the Secretary of War at the time, a fellow by the name of Jefferson Davis, led that opposition. After construction of the bridge was complete, the riverboat industry sued the railroad. The railroad hired a young lawyer from Illinois to defend their right to have a bridge, and the success of that young lawyer established his name across the country. And in 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected as our 16th president of the United States. This decision to invest in transportation infrastructure, specifically the Rock Island Bridge, resulted in the exponential economic growth of the city of Chicago. After the expansion of the nation's railroad system, it became apparent that for St. Louis to survive, a bridge across the Mississippi River was essential. And in 1867, the St. Louis Bridge and Iron Company hired James Buchanan Eads to build one. His bridge was opened in July of 1874. This transportation funding decision brought St. Louis and the state of Missouri back to prominence as a transportation hub. This struggle to establish freight corridors throughout southeast Missouri that are both safe and spur economic development continues today. We are extremely grateful for the current construction of the bridge in Chester. We are extremely grateful for the promised investment in the corridor south of Poplar Bluff. We ask for future investment in the corridor south of Kennett, the upgrade of US Route 60 to interstate status, improvements along US Route 63, and continued work with our neighboring states to establish a feasible freight corridor to Paducah, Kentucky, and beyond to the southeast part of the United States. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Are there any questions for us?
Thank you, Dave.
I like a good story.
Just to mention a little bit more on Mr. Eads, just to show you how impactful a single person can be. He was not a civil engineer, and this guy built his career walking on the bottom of the river. He knew the river. He was a practitioner and knew the river better than anybody else in the world. And much of the river engineering that we have in this country today is because Mr. Eads. When you talk about the jetties that we have down in Louisiana, that was Mr. Eads. When you look at the dikes, revetments, all of the infrastructure that's been built on the river, that concept was Mr. Eads. So he was a Mississippi River Commissioner, presidentially appointed, and did some incredible things throughout the country. And kind of goes to show what one person, what the impact, how widespread it can be. And, you know, to your point, Dave, the investment, how widespread did that investment and the ripple effect that it can have throughout our economy. So it's incredible. Thank you for sharing that with us today. Are there any questions, discussions for the group? Commissioner Smith, do you have any comments? Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I love a great story too. So thanks for sharing that with us, Dave, and thank you for your service at MoDOT. Really impactful. It's great to have you still rowing in the same boat, really getting work done down here, and to highlight the true significance of transportation investment has to come first, and then economic development follows. You can predict the prosperity of a region 20 years out by whether the leaders in that region and the leaders in the state can invest in those areas. So we're very excited about the investments of the General Assembly and going forward. And I also wanted to thank Representative Brown for recognizing the MoDOT team. And Jay Wunderlich, he did a great job. Jay always is out of the room when somebody says something nice about him. So Representative Brown said nice things about you, Jay. We'll tell you later, okay? Thank you. Thank you for being here and for your partnership.
The only other thing that I want to mention is I want to thank Dunklin County for their investment in the environmental study on that 412 corridor. That's a really big step and an obstacle that has to be removed in order to finish out the project. So them jumping out and funding that portion of the project to get that hurdle out of the way is a big deal. So thank you. Well, Mark, you might as well just stay up here because we're moving directly into the next item, which is an update from MoDOT Southeast District Engineer, Mark Corkin. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, Commission, Director. It's great to have you in Southeast District today. The Southeast District is made up of 25 counties. It's actually the largest district. It's even larger than 9 states. You travel across the district, it can take 5, even 6 hours to get from one side to the other. We also have 5 ports and 2 ferries along the east side in the Mississippi River. We have 5 different planning partners we work with. The blue area is where you just heard from Ozark Foothills Regional. The yellow area is the Boot Hill Regional that just left the stage. To our west, we work with South Central Ozark Council of Governments. To the north, we work with Southeast Missouri Regional Planning and Economic Development, and we have 1 metropolitan planning area in the Cape Girardeau and Jackson area. We stay busy. We have a lot of work planned. In the STIP, we have 2,846 lane miles of paving coming. We also have 125 bridges. 99 of those bridges are new bridges. 10 of those are redecks, putting a new deck on the bridge. The rest of those are rehabilitations, but just because it's a rehabilitation doesn't mean it's a small project. We actually have a $15 million rehabilitation to the Emerson Bridge over the Mississippi River in Cape Girardeau plant. The $734 million worth of work, 292 projects is a lot. Almost all of that is taking care of our system, but we do safety programs as well. It was notable that we had 7 roundabout projects in there. Now, roundabouts used in the right place are great safety that save lives. That nearly doubles the amount of roundabouts that we have in the Southeast District. When I look at my operations team, drainage, litter, and seal coats are some hot topics. So this calendar year, we've had 11,507 labor hours of drainage work. That's putting in pipes for entrances, that's crossroad pipes, that's cleaning out ditches throughout the district. $1.4 million of litter pickup this year. Almost all of that was before the April 8th eclipse that you heard about earlier, making sure that we had the region looking well, and we had a lot of regional planning partners that helped us pick up that trash as well. Now, seal coats, I would tell you that that's the bread and butter of taking care of our low volume roads. We're a little bit behind this year, though. We did almost $3 million worth last year, and we have plans to do quite a bit. That oil doesn't go very well with the rain we've been getting, and it's been a really wet winter, but I'm sure that we'll get caught up before the end of the year. So Route 62 over St. Francis River. Now, that's a major bridge that crosses from Missouri into Arkansas. It's just south of Campbell. We've been working with Arkansas to replace this bridge. We have it in our plan. Arkansas actually had to replace a bridge and pave some roads just to make an acceptable detour for us. So it's about 3 years off. And this year during the bridge inspections, I had the inspector come to me and say, you're going to have to do some work to this. And it really didn't make sense to do $500,000 worth of work to a bridge that we have plans to replace. So we pulled our team together. We had lots of departments come together on site. We had Arkansas staff come and say, look, we need to keep this thing open. What can we do? And I would tell you, MoDOT has some really innovative staff. You know, they put their heads together and they figured out that we could buy about $8,000 worth of steel plates and put 40 plates at 10 locations and accelerate the letting a little bit and keep this open. So we had to close it for 3 days to do the work, but one crew spent about a week and a half to keep this bridge open for the next 2.5, 3 years. When I talk about innovative employees, the Innovations Challenge is one of my favorite things. It is popular in Southeast as well. So this year, we had 29 different innovations brought to the district to compete to go to the Innovations Challenge. 12 of those were selected to compete statewide, looking for the most innovative practice that we have to implement, and 6 of those won. Of those 6, there's one I'd like to highlight. It's a little signpost step. I mean, it just clips into a signpost, and then you can step up to reach the bolts on the sign. It's a really easy idea, but it not only won first place in the Tool and Equipment Challenge, it also was the people's choice. So that tells me the judges did a really good job picking because they lined up together. The Don Welge Memorial Bridge at Chester. This has been in every presentation that I've given to the commission. In 2021, I was talking about crews coming from multiple districts to do emergency repairs so that we could keep it open to trucks. In 2022, I was thrilled that we'd found funding, celebrating that it's finally funded. In 2023, you selected a design build team, and some of you were even at a groundbreaking on a cold November day. I'd like to show you what 30% complete looks like today. So I have a video. There's a local pilot that flies drones named Neil Adams that really goes out there every week and updates the public. We don't get many questions because he does such a great job of this. So you're looking at the layout yard. Right now you can see that they're pouring precast panels. They're high strength full depth panels. He's showing the public where the asphalt road is going to go. So that's going to be the new highway. That pond area is where we stood for the groundbreaking. So he's labeling the foundations as you go across. And if you remember, there's going to be 3 towers. So the first of the 3 towers start at foundation. He's about to show number 6 there. And it's 70 feet tall. It's going to be 150 by the time it's done. Now we're out in the river where the next pier would be. This shows barges and cranes, and that's a coffer dam that they're going to dewater to be able to pour the foundation when they're done. You move over to what's the 3rd tower, which is, again, number 6. This one has drilled shafts that are coming out of the water. They're ready to pour the foundation on top of the shafts. You can see that we've had to coordinate with the railroad quite a bit because we're right by them as we're working. So that 30% I'd like to highlight also includes the design work, because this is design build and the design is complete. It's on the shelf other than answering questions as we go. And because of a lot of rain, we ended right there with a retaining wall that's actually 90% done. They've moved their forces over and they've gotten the wall done much quicker than they would have if they could have focused on the center pier in the river. So you heard a little bit about 412 today. That 20-mile stretch that we studied with Dunklin County, they paid half the study. It is the only 20 miles of two-lane between Walnut Ridge, Arkansas, and Jackson, Tennessee. So that's a 150-mile stretch. I'm showing you two examples of what the study looked like. On the left is what the northern section of 412 looks like. That's what most Missourians would think would be the improvement, is divided highway. You start looking at adding lanes. And when we met with Dunklin County residents, when we talked to the public, they said, you know, our farmland's important. We like our access, and what Arkansas did works just fine. So we looked really hard at what's called an undivided section. So this undivided section, it's unique in the flatlands of the Boot Heel, that you don't really get snow down there. You get ice and everything shuts down, so you don't have the winter quite the same. The very large farm equipment is the biggest problem, and the large farm equipment is actually safer on this undivided section than it is on the divided highway. You know, they can't pull out and get onto the lane the same way. So next month, we plan to meet with Dunklin County and tell them the results of the study in detail, but I can tell you today that our recommendation, that's the final draft being tweaked in our report, is to use the undivided section you see on the right. Interstate 57 versus Highway 67. This gets real confusing even locally. When I get questions, I have to ask people, now where are you talking? Are you talking Dexter, Sykeston, Poplar Bluff, or down by Arkansas? So the vision for Interstate 57 is to connect Dallas to Chicago, and it's a great vision to have. Funding's been a little bit more challenging, but I would say there's two segments that I deal with primarily. So it comes into Missouri on Highway 67 all the way up to Poplar Bluff, and then from Poplar Bluff, future 57 goes across Highway 60 to Sykeston, and that's where it would connect into existing 57. So the two sections that I talk about the most is the 12-mile section at Arkansas that's two-lane highway, or the 55 miles that extends from 160 all the way up and across. So everybody in the region is in support of doing something to that 12 miles connecting. I would tell you it's not as clear on the 55 miles that goes north and across Poplar Bluff. There are 308 access points that need to be updated in order to meet interstate standards. So those are farm entrances, those are local roads, county roads, state highways, and there's farms butting up against this land. So you'd have to buy farmland to put in outer roads, you'd have to put in interchanges. And I would tell you, Missourians are very practical. There's a lot of them that like their farm just fine and that still want to use the access they have. So the real focus has been on completing the 12 miles to the south. You heard a little bit about the first project that's been completed. I'd like to show you the examples here. On the left, you see when construction first started. So this is at Highway 160 where 67, the divided highway kind of ended. It ended in a loop ramp. That's been reconfigured to more of a standard interchange with some roundabouts underneath to prepare for two lanes to continue on towards Arkansas. When you talk about the $60 million that recently in general revenue was approved, you can see the red portion on this map is what I just showed you as the piece that that's already been completed. The blue portion is what's being let in September, and the purple is what we expect to get down to Neelyville with the funding that was approved. So there's still another $90 to $120 million of work to get to the Arkansas line. I'd like to end talking about employees. Every 5 years, the service, we like to recognize employees. And I would tell you across the Southeast District, 10% of the employees that I have are eligible to retire. They're past their retirement. They work and live in the same community. They love what they do and they choose to stay here. And this year, April Brock, who's shown here past 40 years of service. I thought that was a tremendous landmark. You talk to April, she's a right-of-way technician. She loves what she does, and she tells me that there's no plans to go anywhere soon. So with that, I'd like to ask if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mark. One thing before I go around the table here, go back a slide. So that additional $90 to $120 million that's needed to finish this out. The one point that I want to make on it is the legislature did put 90 million in, but it's contingent upon federal dollars on a federal grant. And we're going through that process now. But with our federal delegation here in the room, I just want to make sure that we pay very close attention to this, and anything that we can do at the federal level to go along with the hard work that's been done by the locals, we would certainly appreciate it, because this stretch is vital to finishing out that corridor. So with that, are there any questions and comments from the commission?
I just wanted to say thank you, Mark, for the overview. You just have a huge area, the largest district report.
Turn your mic on.
Sorry about that. I'd just like to say thank you, Mark, for the presentation. It is the largest district and such a tremendous amount of ground to cover. And it's not the typical district for MoDOT. A lot of water and a lot of different diversity here. So appreciate all the photography and particularly the video from the drone. Great to see that. And thanks for all the work you do.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Director?
Just want to thank Mark for his leadership and your team here. Took on a significant challenge when you came, and you're sifting through all the issues. Your team is strong, and you're just doing a great job. Thanks for the clarity in your presentation on this particular project, because that public clarity, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for that, because, spending authority only helps when there's money behind it, and that those federal dollars are going to be very important. But I think it's a very compelling argument to bring to the delegation, and hopefully that'll be successful. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Director. Mark, thank you so much. Okay, so next item on the agenda is an action item. Ed Hassinger, Deputy Director and Chief Engineer, is going to kick off this presentation. And we are talking about the consideration of proposals for the Improve I-70 from Paseo to I-435 Design Build Project. Ed, floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director, we're thrilled to be here to present a proposal for I-70 in downtown Kansas City. As many people know, in our process when we do a design build project, it's fairly unique in the method we do it. We try to get maximum flexibility for the industry to give us the most innovation they can. And one of the things that we do that is we appoint a project director and give them the full authority of the chief engineer. So I transfer my authority to the project director. And what that does is really gives those teams that are competing for this project the confidence to give us their best proposal. They know that the answers they get in the procurement cycle are quick and right, and they can keep moving, and that they're confidential until we make a contract decision. And I think that's really key to us getting the great value that we've gotten with our design build projects over the years. It's pretty unique here in Missouri, but we're always looking to innovate and get the best value for taxpayers. And I think you're going to see we've done that once again. So taking on one of these projects is no subject to be taken lightly. And we asked Alan Ludiker to take on that role as the project director. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to the project director for this project, Alan. He's going to share with you the proposal.
Welcome, Alan.
All right, good morning. Chair Boatwright, fellow commissioners, and Director McKenna, thank you for having me here today. So I'm here today to provide our recommendation to the commission for the apparent best value proposal for the Improve I-70 Kansas City Design Build project. This project has been a team effort, and I'd first like to acknowledge members of the MoDOT team, James Flum, Carly Covington, Ryan Hale, Joshua Scott, Jordan Swing, and David Simmons. I'd also like to acknowledge Tom Nugent and Lisa Stubbs with Trek Design Group. They've been acting as MoDOT's owner engineer on the project. The Improve I-70 Kansas City project is located on I-70 just east of downtown in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri. It is about 5 miles in length and runs from the Paseo Boulevard on the west to US 40 at 31st Street on the east. This corridor was originally constructed in the early 1960s. The neighborhoods along the corridor are primarily residential. There are 12 existing interchanges located within the I-70 corridor. There are 26 mainline and overhead bridge structures included in the project. The existing roadway consists primarily of 6 lanes of traffic, 3 lanes in each direction, with 8 lanes of traffic west of Prospect approaching the downtown area. The route carries up to 120,000 vehicles per day, 18% of which are trucks. The corridor also includes a heavy amount of pedestrian and transit traffic located primarily along the many city streets that cross over and under I-70. As I mentioned earlier, this roadway was built in the early 1960s, which means it's over 60 years old. The roadway includes narrow shoulders, low bridge vertical clearances, and closely spaced interchanges. The route also contains outdated geometric features, including 2 low-speed curves at Benton Boulevard and Jackson Avenue. The roadway needs to be modernized. As I stated earlier, there are 26 mainline and overhead bridges along the corridor. This includes 2 pedestrian-only bridges. The bridges have reached the end of their service lives and need to be replaced. The original pavement is also over 60 years old. It has also reached the end of its service life. It needs to be replaced or rehabilitated. Other infrastructure along the corridor, such as drainage systems, lighting, and median barrier, also need to be upgraded. This corridor experiences heavy congestion during the morning and evening rush hour periods. We see daily traffic slowdowns and backups, specifically approaching the 2 low-speed curves and approaching the downtown loop area. We also see significant traffic slowdowns and backups when crashes or incidents occur along the corridor. We are looking to improve consistency of travel times through the corridor. The historical crash rate along the corridor is 2 times higher than the statewide average for a similar roadway. The corridor has experienced 9 fatalities, 28 disabling injuries, and 36 injuries over the past 5-year period. There is also a history of crashes involving pedestrians on cross streets and on I-70. We're looking to improve safety and reduce crashes in the corridor. Most of the existing sidewalks along the cross streets are in poor condition and don't meet ADA requirements. The 2 existing pedestrian bridges on the corridor are narrow, difficult to access, and are in poor condition. When I-70 was originally constructed, it cut through many existing neighborhoods, disconnecting many city streets and sidewalks. We are looking to upgrade sidewalk and bicycle facilities and improve connectivity for the local community along the corridor. All right, so shown here are the prioritized goals for the project. 1, deliver the project within the program budget of $237 million by December 31st, 2028. 2, implement innovative transportation solutions to improve safety and reliability along the corridor. 3, provide durable and maintainable infrastructure that revives the corridor and aligns with regional development. 4, improve accessibility for the local community and create opportunities to grow a diverse workforce. And 5, minimize overall traffic impacts during construction in partnership with stakeholders. These goals address the needs of the project. Shown here is the project budget. The overall project budget is $237 million. This includes right-of-way acquisition, utility relocation, and stipends. The City of Kansas City has also committed to providing $6.8 million for aesthetic improvements on the bridges. The fixed price best value design build contract will be $215 million. Shown here are the DBE and workforce goals for the project. The DBE participation goal for construction activities is 12%, and for professional services, 14%. The workforce diversity goals for minorities is 12.7%, and female, 6.9%. There are also requirement for on-the-job training for 7 construction trainees at 1,000 hours each. All right, so shown here is the procurement schedule for this design build project. So the project was originally advertised on June 12th, 2023. The request for qualifications was issued on February 13th, 2024. Teams were shortlisted on March 26th, 2024. And the final request for proposals was issued on April 15th, 2024. We received proposals from teams on July 9th, 2024. We're now here today to consider the selection of the best value proposal. Okay, shown here are the 2 pre-qualified shortlisted teams for the project. They are the Clarkson Rodmacher joint venture team. HNTB is their designer. The second team is the London Construction with Parsons. Parsons is the designer, and Idecker is a major participant on their team. These are the technical elements and points used as part of the proposal evaluation process. These include project definition for 60 points, safety for 15 points, community impact for 15 points, and maintenance of traffic and schedule for 10 points. Based on the results of the proposal evaluation procedure, we are recommending that the Clarkson Rodmacher joint venture project be awarded the apparent best value proposal. Here is a listing of the improvements included in their proposal. The addition of a 4th eastbound through lane from Prospect Avenue to Manchester, reconstruction of I-70 from Chestnut Avenue to 18th Street in the Benton Curve area, reconstruction of eastbound I-70 from 27th Street to Cypress Avenue in the Jackson Curve area, and rehabilitation of westbound I-70 from 27th Street to Cypress in the Jackson Curve area. This proposal results in a 13% reduction in total predicted crashes, improves reliability of I-70 throughout the corridor. This proposal includes 15 new and 7 rehabilitated bridges. Pedestrian and bicycle connectivity is improved throughout. The Clarkson Rodmacher team is committed to partnering with K-12 schools and programs, vocational schools, and training programs to grow diversity in the transportation industry. The team is also committed to having 3 lanes of I-70 open in both directions during the 2026 FIFA World Cup event. All lanes of I-70 are scheduled to be open by December 2027. So with that, and I have a video of the Clarkson Rodmacher proposal to share. All right, so this video starts at the west end of the project and is looking east. So it starts at the Paseo Boulevard. It includes rehabilitation of the bridges over Woodland, Brooklyn, and the Paseo. In this area, you can see the additional 4th eastbound through lane that starts. And in this area, the Benton Curve area is being reconstructed. Continuing east, we get new bridges at 18th Street, over the railroad, and at Truman Boulevard. and Raytown roadway. This also includes new bridges at 23rd Street, new pedestrian bridge is being provided with the project, new bridges at new Cleveland Road Bridge over I-70, and new bridge at 27th Street. This is the area where the Jackson Curve is being reconstructed in the eastbound direction. The bridges at Van Brunt are also being replaced. A new pedestrian bridge is built near Oakley. And then the additional fourth lane is continued on to the Manchester Bridge at the east end of the corridor. With that, we request the commission award the apparent best value proposal to the Clarkson-Rodmacher joint venture. Authorize the director, deputy director, chief engineer, assistant chief engineer, or their designee to negotiate and execute a contract with the apparent best value proposer, subject to approval as to form by the chief counsel's office, and approve the payment of a $1 million stipend to the unsuccessful proposing team. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Are there any questions and comments from the commission? Commissioner Erdman?
Yeah, thank you, Alan, and tremendous work. Congratulations on yet another and the most recent successful design build. I know of no state DOT better prepared with better experience and better at design build than MoDOT. That's right. And this is just the most recent example of such a success. I will be abstaining from the vote due to the proximity of one of my employer's properties to this, but I do want to comment on it because, as you know, this stretch of I-70 is in the most densely populated part of urban Kansas City. And the Jackson Curve and the Benton Curve are notorious for their tight turns, which are no longer up to code. And so these are important. Just a couple things. This preceded the Improve I-70 program, which will widen I-70 from Odessa to Wentzville. But notwithstanding that, it's an essential part of the I-70 programs because this is the part that goes through urban Kansas City. And to widen I-70 across the state requires this improvement in Kansas City, even if this was preceding the Improve I-70. So I think that's an important, while it's not part of it, it is certainly tied to it. I want to recognize the planning that gave importance to the World Cup, the fact that we will be able to have full use of all lanes of the highway during the World Cup in 2026. June and July. That's a very significant factor. The eyes of the world will be on Kansas City. And I'm very impressed by the fact that we were able to come up with a construction schedule that allows for full use of I-70 during the World Cup and during construction. That is remarkable and very, very important. As I mentioned earlier, the Benton Curve particularly and the Jackson Curve are notorious. There are flashing warning signs because trucks turn over there, which is not a pretty sight. One question I do have is, what will the improvements to the geometry of those two curves, what will they do to improve safety and improve the speed as you go through those two curves?
Yeah, so currently, as you mentioned, there are warning signs approaching both of those curves, and those warning signs are posted for 45 miles an hour. So with the reconstruction and improvements to those curves, they'll be brought up to be able to travel at 55 miles an hour.
So basically, they're going to kind of smooth out the curve a little bit
That's
and
correct.
add the lane on the westbound. Yeah, that will make an enormous difference. That'll make an enormous difference. So anyway, I just want to congratulate the department on yet another successful design build. And for those of us from Kansas City, thank you. This is really badly needed and long overdue, and we're grateful for your work.
Director?
I don't think I could say it better than Commissioner Erdman. Great job, Alan and team. The one thing I would add is that everyone that Alan mentioned that was a part of his team that was a other duty as assigned. They have day jobs in other aspects. This was very complicated. Alan did an extraordinary job, but we had a lot of volunteer work or maybe a few voluntold works, but that's the MoDOT team pulling together, and some extraordinary work done by the private sector in both cases. We're very fortunate to have these talented teams doing joint ventures to come together to do this work. Complicated work, very difficult set of constraints that we gave them, and they came up with a great plan.
Thank you, Director. Okay, do we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation in front of us?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Madam Secretary, please show me as abstaining.
Thank you, Alan. Next item on the agenda is a non-action item. Eric Schroeder, Assistant Chief Engineer, will present the condition of the system. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Last month, we brought before you a little update on bridges. So today, let's talk about the rest of the system. So what you see on the screen there is actually Missouri's highway system. I need to put this in some context. So as we talked about bridges, there's 10,392 bridges on this system. And what you see on the screen there is 33,811 miles of roadway. Now, to give you some context, that's the 7th largest state system in the nation. You can take all the state highways in Kansas and Illinois, add them together, and you're still 8,000 miles short of Missouri. Give you some more context to that. We're about 18th in population as a state, and we're also about 18th in land mass, but we have a highway system that's 7th. So it's true when we tell people if you grow it here, mine it here, manufacture it here, we have a system that can ship it anywhere in the United States and anywhere in the world. It is a great asset. And as you've heard earlier this morning about improvements to it, the other thing we know is when we meet with the public and ask them, the first priority they give us is safety. The second priority is take care of the system you already have. So let's talk about that, how we're doing it, taking care of the system. So as I told you, 33,000 miles. Now, I got to make a little technical distinction here. That's center line miles. If you really wanted to drive across all the miles that MoDOT maintains for the state, it's 78,000 lane miles. To give you some context to that, you can drive from New York to Los Angeles 28 times, or you can just drive around in Missouri and drive on all Missouri's roads to accomplish the same lane miles. So it's important that you understand the scale of what we do and how we attach that. Now, I'll also tell you that the condition is a moment in time, right? Just as we talked about bridges. So this doesn't take into account all the projects that are underway right now. It's a busy time of the season out there. As Mark told you, his crews are doing work. Our contractors are doing work. So this is just a moment of time at the end of 2023. So let's break it down into parts that we can talk about. So this first group here is what we call our major roads. This is 5,550 miles, 16% of the system, but 76% of the travel happens on this part of the system. I like to say these are the roads that link our centers of population, of education, of production, and agriculture. This is what links us to the world, and also where that 76% of all the travel occurs. Now, our goal here is 90%, and currently we're meeting that goal at 90% in good condition. You can see the range there across the state, 83 to 97. But you can also see an important number on there when we talk about the cost of maintaining these lane miles, and what you have to plan for is about $140,000 a lane mile. Right. So this on a multi-lane facility that we were just talking like downtown Kansas City, where it's 6 lanes wide, costs can add up quickly. So I want to talk about the second section of it, our minor road system. Now, the federal system breaks road classification down into way more sections. For simplicity, we refer to ours as the majors, the minors, and the low volume. But this is the next 18,000 miles. It's 54% of the system, and this is where that next 22% of travel happens. So I like to refer to this is what collects us. This is what brings us to that major part of the system. It's what gathers it from smaller communities, from our homes, and gets us there. Now, 80% is our goal here on condition, and currently 81%. So we're doing well, and the range you'll see is 70 to 83, a little bigger range, but that's what we would expect over this. You'll also notice that the planned average cost for maintaining this goes down a little bit because the treatment options can be a little less. This is where our 1-inch overlays can come into play, and other chip seals and other items there. So we're continue to meet those goals. I want to talk about the next part of the system, our low volume part here. So when we talk about low volume, these are roads that have less than 400 ADT a day. That's how we define that. 10,000 miles or 30% of the system, but 2% of the travel. So as we break down these tiers, this is another large group, but only 2% of the travel occurs here. These are our end of the system. This is what connects our system to the final destination, right? Our goal here is 70% good condition, and this is where we made our most gains as we look at over time. We've made tremendous gains here at getting it towards that. We are currently at 79, but you'll also notice the range is 69 to 79. This is the area where we had the largest disparity in the past, where we had some ranges of the state were down in the 50s in good condition, and others were in that 70 to 80. So closing that disparity has been our goal. Because our real goal as we manage the system, and I'm going to talk about asset management in a minute, is making sure that drivers on similar types of roads across the state have similar experiences, right? So that our most important roads to our medium to our lowest volume, that if you're on those classifications in different areas of our state, you have a similar experience in Southeast Missouri as a driver does in Northwest Missouri. This is where the governor's rural routes program, and I provided a map for you each. Commissioner had asked in the past a little update on where we've done projects on the low volume. So I provided you where the last 3 years have really helped move this number and made a difference. So now as I talk about this, and we've heard some about history and transportation, it's important to remember we're in this for the long haul. That's, federal bills come and go, administrations come and go. The DOT has been here for decades and decades. So it's our imperative that we look at this in a long haul mentality. And you'll see here in early 2000, the trend was not good. Now, to get out of that hole, the commission borrowed approximately $2 billion to bring that back up in that 2003 to 2006 timeframe. That was an expensive undertaking, a necessary one, but it was an expensive one that we're still paying on. But that's why it's important, as you see that graph, how we maintain and keep our asset management. This is where discipline comes in, and it makes for difficult decisions and difficult conversations with communities. With our first priority of that asset management and taking care of the system you have first, and realizing it is so large, that's where discipline comes in, and looking at our past history and our future also play into this, how we do that. I think last year when I presented on this, I worked in the degradation curve because every engineer loves that. So I forewent that this year, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about it. So let's talk about how we do asset management. So one of the things you'll see here is this is our quintile. So as I mentioned, we have 33,000 miles of roadway, but we also have data on every mile. In fact, we break that data down into 1/10 of a mile segments. And for each 1/10 of a mile segment, we have several data points. So
we're talking about 340,000 pieces of data, and then multiply that by several years. So it's one of those things, you can be consumed by the data, you can get too far away, or you can go too far in. So this, our quintile sheet, helps us kind of adjust our focus. It takes all that data and helps us break it down into quintiles by type of roadway, by district, and how we're doing towards the goal. We're also able to use this quintile sheet and apply what's in the STIP to forecast future conditions. And that's where the red and green check marks are. So the red X's mean we're not meeting the goal, but you'll see in many of those cases, it's only off by 1% or 2, but we're still not meeting the goal. You'll see the green where we are meeting the goal or exceeding the goal. So this is what lets it be a data-driven process that allows us to use that data, but also allows us to bring in, as you heard from our local planning partners, ground truth and that local knowledge. So we use the data to help us focus a little bit, and then we work our planning process to get to the right ones. So as I mentioned, this not only breaks down the quintile by districts, but it also gives you a statewide look at how we're doing in those classifications as a state and where we need to focus our attention. So as I talked about asset management, I think one of the things to note here is also important, plays into this, is you'll see one of our crews there working on what we call long patches. About 50% of the low volume system is not eligible for federal funds. That's how federal law works, how the federal program works. So there's literally 5,040 miles that our crews take care of with state funds because they're not eligible for that multiplying effect of getting federal dollars to help out. With this large of a system, 5,000 miles of state only is also one of the challenges that comes with it. So as I talk about asset management, this is not an eye test, even though it kind of looks like it. This is the summary sheet for asset management. This is about accountability. This is where we can break down what the forecast is for each type of roadway by district, how many miles we need to work on. Now, it doesn't tell you exactly which ones. We can use the data to help pick that out, but it tells you on average how many you need to be focusing on. It allows us to put in what's in the STIP and do the accountability. It also talks about how much you're spending on each of those and bridges by square footage as well. So this is about accountability, and this is where the discipline comes in as we look at a longer plan. Asset management looks at about a 10-year window, whereas our STIP's about a 5-year window, and our work plans are typically 2 to 3. So here's what actually one of them, I just pull it since we're in the Southeast District here. If you pull that out, you can see by the classifications what the plan should be, what's in the STIP, what's actually projected. Because it's important to know that we have to balance this and tie it to available funds. So even though it may say you need to do this many miles, you also have to be able to fund that. So it's over time. So some years you may be up a little, some years you may be down. And that's why we look at that 10-year window of where are we trending. And that's why it's important that we look at that graph of are we maintaining that discipline and trending in the right direction. This also allows us to take in road condition, but also dollars, how we're programming them, dollars invested, and all that balance. Because the STIP has to balance by fiscal year. So some districts may be up, some may be down, but as a state, we balance by year. And then over time, we make these adjustments. This is one of the key things that we use with our team internally to keep ourselves on task. And it's about accountability, so we all see how we're doing. So I want to talk about STIP programming and that accountability, because that also plays into this asset management and to our condition for our roadways. So as I mentioned, we are fiscally constrained by year. We match up with the federal funds that are available and state funds that are available in that year. But we also have to true up the books. As you award projects, some may come in a little bit up, some may be a little down, but also as project closes out, a project may experience change orders or underruns or overruns. How do we account for all that? So I'm just going to real quickly touch on that. So some of the things that we adjust for, so as in major bridges, as they come in and are finished over and under, you'll see that 2 years later, we make the adjustment in the STIP. Sometimes projects are delayed. That delay often is not, can sometimes be because we need right of way or need more work, but also it could be delayed because it has to match up when funds are available. So sometimes you just simply don't have the money in that year to do that project. And then we account for awards, overruns, and underruns as projects come in from contractors. And then the final closeout, after everything's done on the project and all counting is done, what's the final cost of that?
Because each month as we present bids to you, one of the things we give you is a budget update, but also in your backup information is a status of where each district stands on their distribution and their portion of the funds, and how we hold each other accountable for that. And then what, if you're over, how does that affect your STIP 2 years, 3 years out? If you're under, how does that make sure that that stays in that region? This is how we make sure that each region continues to receive their funds. It's not a matter of who gets to spend it first or fastest, but also it's also in savings, innovation, stay in that region as well. So this is how we do some of that accountability. And my financial services director down here is going to cringe, but I call it truing up the books. But she says that's not what they really do. But that's my simple-minded method. We make sure it's all accounted for in the end. So as I've run through some of that quickly with you this morning, this wasn't an action item. This is more of an information of where we're at. This is a little bit of holding us accountable publicly for how we're doing on the condition of our roadways and how we do asset management, and a little bit about the discipline it takes to make that happen. And over time, how we try to make sure we hold ourselves accountable, that we're doing that second thing that people tell us of taking care of the system you have first. So with that, I'd be glad to have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, not a question, just a comment, Eric. Thank you for sharing all the details on how you manage asset management. And you know, it's an incredible task to do this and to know where you do the right amount of work at the right amount of time, especially with the 7th largest highway system in the nation. So hats off to you guys. You do an incredible job. I know that you engineers like to look at all this stuff. He was really in it over there, but right. But anyway, it is very interesting. So
we have a tremendous team around the state.
Yeah.
And even our planning partners, you know, as we use that large data to help drive decisions and do that makes this giant system a great asset for us.
it is. And you guys do a tremendous job, and we appreciate you and your team, Eric.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I am a little disappointed the degradation curve wasn't on there, but I can get past that. You know, Eric, it's getting more fun to get the yearly updates on the state of the system because we're making progress.
Right.
And, you know, that's a much different scenario than 4 years ago when I came onto the commission. So appreciate the work that you're doing, the team throughout MoDOT, the work that's being done every day, and we're making progress, and it's exciting. It's I can't think of a better time to be in the transportation business. So thanks a bunch. Commissioner Erdman?
Yeah, I don't have a question either, but I do want to share a perspective for the public who might be listening in. What Eric described today is the enormous responsibility that it is to maintain this enormous 7th largest system with very limited resources. And until recently, that was nearly impossible to do. More recently, we need to thank and commend the Missouri General Assembly for providing funds to do badly needed new projects. And the I-70, I-44 focus on bridges. The governor and the Missouri General Assembly has stepped up to recognize the fact that it takes general revenue to do new projects that we want to do because we're maintaining such an enormous 7th largest system with the non-general revenue resources we have. That's really an important concept for Missourians to understand because as we move forward, the cost of maintaining this system is not going to get less. It's going to get more. And we're going to need every penny of that state road fund to maintain and keep safe what we have and look to the General Assembly for help when we have important, big new projects as we've seen in the last 2 sessions.
It's very,
Thank you.
very true. Thank you for those comments. Yeah, that inflation just silently creeps along, and that's one of the challenges that our plan has to take in.
Yeah, spot on, Commissioner Erdman. Director?
You know, I just note that quintile sheet that seems very simple because it is.
Yeah, sure.
It's a great example of the common sense approach to systems management. If we were to go out and buy a system to do that, It costs millions of dollars. That was developed in-house. We looked at other systems, and we could not find anything that would serve us better than adding all these data points in. And there was really good work done in the planning division and with the thought and the stewardship with Eric leading that. This organization has become one of the top asset management DOTs in the nation. And it's all basic common sense and good stewardship and sticking to the data, but not letting that be the only driver of decisions. It's just a way to inform the decisions in a way that is shared with planning partners, and the planning partners have done a terrific job of understanding this and working with us to update it. So really great team effort, but also another cost savings because we couldn't find a better system than what was developed in-house.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Chairman.
Next item on the agenda is an action item. Brandon Dinkler, Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, is going to present the medical plan funding recommendation today. Brandon, welcome.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director McKenna. It's a pleasure to be with you here this morning, give you an annual update from the medical and life insurance plan. I'll conclude my presentation today asking for your recommendations on both funding and plan design for the 2025 calendar year. All right, we're going to start with just a little bit of background on this medical plan. So the commission, 2024 is the 46th year that the commission has taken part in sharing the cost of medical insurance for our employees and our retirees. This plan is governed by a board of trustees. It's an 8-member board that I serve as the chairman of the board, and it represents all affected groups. So there's 4 active MoDOT employees that are on the board. There are 2 active highway patrol employees that are on the board, and there is a retired member from each organization that also serves on that board. One task that the board has is to review our third-party administrators that we use to administer this plan for our employees and retirees. There's a list of our current administrators there. We use Anthem and MedImpact. Anthem does our medical claims for us, and MedImpact does our pharmacy claims. They do those for our active employee population and our non-Medicare retirees. And then last year, we added an additional administrator, and that's United Healthcare. And they do a Medicare Advantage plan that is specific to our retiree group that is a fully insured product that we added as a benefit last year. We do offer multiple plan options. So for our active employees and pre-Medicare retirees, we offer a preferred provider organization plan. This is the most common plan across the country, as well as a high deductible health plan that comes with an HSA and an HSA contribution. And then we offer that Medicare Advantage plan for those that are eligible for Medicare. Just to give you a scope of the number of individuals that this plan touches, we have just right at 26,000 individuals that are enrolled in this healthcare plan. Our active employees across the 2 organizations, though they only total about 7,000, they make up 17,000 or just over 63% of those individuals when you add in their family members, their dependents, their kids. That's a large population that's affected by this small plan. So this is attachment 4 in your backup material. This is a look at our funding history going back to 2018. In 2024, we did the first funding increase recommendation since the 2018 calendar year. You will see, however, though we did keep our funding recommendations level from 2018 through 2023, there's a slight decrease as you go across the board. That's due to the struggles that both employers had in bringing in and retaining employees, which gave us a much smaller enrollment count and then less funding going into the plan. In calendar year 2023, the commission contributed just over $88 million to the health insurance plan, while the users of the plan contributed just under $27 million. You will notice that's a pretty big decrease from calendar year 22. That shows the change for us with our Medicare Advantage plan, moving that group into a fully insured plan lowered their premium requirements and then lowered the funding going into the plan overall. Talk about money coming in. We'll talk a little bit about money going out. As you can expect, over the last couple of years, we've seen strong increases in our expenses. This chart just gives you a little bit of a view of how those increases kind of ebb and flow. So the top bar on that chart is our 12-month rolling increase for pharmacy expenses. You'll notice that in December of 23, we hit a 30.9% year-over-year increase in pharmacy expenses, which is unheard of. The bottom bar on that chart is the medical expenses. It kind of goes up and down throughout this time period, even decreases at one point. But at the end of this reporting period, it was at an 8% increase. Pharmacy was at a 22.3% increase. So overall, at the end of this reporting period, we're looking at an 11.2% increase in our overall spending just on claims alone. The volatility of that spending makes it a little more difficult to be financially responsible with the plan. We look at our financial stability and our net position to see how the plan is doing. After 2018, despite not making increases in our funding requirements, you see that net position increase, but it has slowly decreased since 2020 with that increase in cost going out and that slight decrease in funding coming in. In June, our medical board met with our actuary to look at what the rest of this year and moving forward looked like. By the end of 2024, our net position is expected to hit $27 million, which would be the lowest level it's been since the 2018 calendar year. With all those factors in mind, we do have some recommendations for the 2025 calendar year that we're looking for your approval. One is to keep our plan design the same as it is now, with our active population continuing the PPO and high deductible plan with no plan changes to either one. Our second recommendation is that you approve an increase in total premiums for all plans of 9%, as can be seen in attachment 1 of your backup material. And our third recommendation, looking for approval, is that you absorb that 9% increase for our active employees currently working and our work-related disability participants. This absorption would bring our split to an 85-15 split between the commission and the employees, and bring us more in line with what the other state departments are doing in that regard. If approved, these changes will ensure the continued financial stability of this very important benefit to our employees, our retirees, and their families. I'd like to thank the commission, as well as the executive teams from both MoDOT and the Highway Patrol for the continued support of this important plan, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you have today.
Commissioner Erdman? Yeah, thank you, Brandon. This is important and complex work, and we appreciate the work that you and your team do to manage this high-ticket item. At our meeting last month at the lake, we did a pretty deep dive, an initial dive on some of these benefit issues, and many things came from that, but one thing that came clear is that this benefit is expensive. And it continues to rise, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of relief in sight. Once again, it's being recommended that we absorb the cost of the increase in the healthcare premium, which I think all of us understand is an important benefit. I hope all of our employees across the system realize that this is a remarkable benefit, and a remarkable that we have been able to do that absorption of the cost. I know they appreciate it because they tell us they do. And we want to recognize and thank your team for managing this in a way that makes that possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Erdman. Director?
Yeah, I'd just like to say on behalf of all the employees of MoDOT, the support of the commission over the years, from the vision early on to develop this, 46 years running, to a very difficult choice that was made in 2018 to absorb a plan increase. We recognize that these costs go up. And we also, the commission has recognized that the inflationary impacts on the good, hardworking workforce at MoDOT, you have to balance those needs, and you want to make sure that people understand their plan. The fact that we haven't had significant plan changes also doesn't create an untimely surprise financially for our teams when they have to access these benefits. That's every bit as important as the management of the premium. And in fact, in the coming years, as these pressures continue, the fact that we will go, with your permission here or approval, 8 years running without a premium increase to our employees for a 5,000 unit employee organization, I think that's amazing. It's been happening now, I think, 6 years running for state of Missouri employees with Governor Parson and his administrative team's leadership. It's a vital thing for retention. It creates stability, and that medical surprise can create economic uncertainty for individuals. So on behalf of the organization, thank you for your leadership here and your support.
Thank you, Director. Do we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank
Thank you, Brandon.
Commissioners.
Next item on the agenda is an action item. Todd Grosvenor, Financial Services Director, is going to present the appropriation submittal today. Welcome, Todd. Floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Chairman Boatwright, Commissioners, Director McKenna. I'm here today to seek your approval of our appropriation submittal for the next legislative session for multiple House bills for fiscal year 2026. Our appropriation submittal for House Bill 4 totals $9.5 billion. It's about $120 million or 1.2% more than the FY 2025 budget. Our appropriation submittals, they've grown from $3 billion in 2020 to $9.5 billion. That's more than tripled. That's an incredible amount of funding, and that equates to an expenditure rate of $26 million a day. That probably explains why my accounts payable team is so tired all the time, but we're glad to get that money. Today's presentation will focus on items that we are requesting significant increases. This budget timeline provides you an overview of where we are in the process. This current step is highlighted in red. The process of compiling the appropriations started way back in March on the left-hand side of that timeline. It's a team effort between the districts and the divisions working closely with financial services. We are required by law to submit our appropriations submittal to the state budget director by October 1, and these are the appropriations that we will follow through the legislative process. Once the legislature approves our appropriations, we will come back to you for approval prior to the start of the fiscal year. This pie chart shows you a breakdown of our appropriations submittal by categories. The majority is program delivery and safety and operations, which has grown to about 78%. That's shown in the blue and the orange pie pieces there. Refunds and transfers, they make up 12% of the total, and these are needed for accounting purposes to move funds between monies between funds, and that's shown in the purple color there. The smallest category is administration, 0.3%, less than 0.5%. Our submittal includes additional funds to fully implement the market plan, which advances our employees toward market competitive midpoints based on tenure and performance. Includes the hiring of additional positions in safety and operations to safely maintain and operate the transportation system and improve our customer service to meet expectations for operations such as litter pickup, mowing, and trimming, and additional positions in program delivery to deliver the transportation projects that have been designated and funded by the General Assembly. Now, a lot of these positions were part of our submittal last year, but they were not approved. But over the last several months, we are starting to experience some net gains on our hiring, and we're starting to close the gap of our vacancies. And by fiscal year 2026, we'll be in a great position to start adding people back to our workforce and gain some that we lost back in fiscal year 2024. The safety and operations budget increases $22.6 million for various contracts to mow, remove litter, install signs, striping, and seal coats on low-volume routes. These contracts will supplement the work done by our own employees to improve customer service to meet expectations. Includes $13.2 million for materials and supplies for additional asphalt and chip sealing repairs, signals, and striping, and $3.8 million for non-fleet equipment such as plows, paint tanks, and spreader beds. The program delivery budget increases $30 million for contractor payments as our department's construction program continues to set new historical levels with additional funding. Just last month, you approved our STIP at a $14.6 billion level over the next 5 years. Our General Assembly designated and funded projects that were provided in fiscal years 24 and 25. This submittal for FY26 includes the reappropriation of a lot of those funds as these projects take multiple years to complete. Some of the road and bridge projects in this include improve I-70, forward I-44, Route 67 in Butler County, which we've heard a lot about, Route 65 from Buffalo to Warsaw, low volume routes. We also have multimodal projects in these. Those include the Kansas City and Penobscot County ports and airport improvements at Rosecrans, Kirksville, Warrensburg, and Cape Girardeau. The Fleet Facilities and Information Systems budget increases $15 million to replace and improve mechanical systems at the Materials Lab in Jefferson City, which houses very specialized equipment and has been in place since 1994. We also have some work to do in the Southwest District Office in Springfield. This project also includes a fire suppression system. The existing systems are well beyond their useful life and they need to be improved. We're requesting the reappropriation of $49 million of general revenue and $10 million of potential federal revenue for safety improvements to railroads not on the state highway system. This will allow any money that's not spent in 2025 to move forward and be available in 2026. For transit, our request includes some additional funding due to supply chain issues. Some vehicles that are ordered will not come in until 2026, so it's moving the funding to when those will be delivered. And for passenger rail, we're requesting the cost to cover inflation for 2 trains a day and funding for an additional third-round trip and service from Kansas City to St. Joe for the World Cup in Kansas City in June of 2026. So we are asking you to approve the 3 appropriations submittals as stated in your materials. I do want to draw your attention to that first bullet point, though. That's an amended number. It's $9.5 billion for House Bill 4 for Attachment 1. Are there any questions that we can address for you?
Are there any questions?
Well, good work again. If you go through this, obviously, we talked about the incredible work it is to maintain the system. I'm very pleased to see that we're going in again to ask for the personnel needed to maintain, to snow removal, maintenance. Those things are just indispensable to operations. Very pleased to see that. I believe also in the consent agenda, we had some reductions as a result of the governor's vetoes. That might not be transparent, but we're not just asking for more everywhere. There are places where it's been reduced. And I just wanted to emphasize that where we're asking for increases, we're recognizing that maintenance is a big part of what that's all about. And also, we're delivering a lot more projects with a smaller work base, a smaller employee base. And for those who might wonder about that, that's why.
Thank you, Commissioner Erdman. Commissioner Hageman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Todd, thank you for the work you and your team have put together on this. You know, I know it takes a lot of work to put budgets together, and just to have somebody like a Senate Appropriation Chairman kind of pick at them, through the years, little experience there. But really do appreciate it, and really do appreciate working with the General Assembly on a lot of these requests. We need their help in moving forward with general revenue requests that fund, certainly parts of the transportation system. And it's always a collaboration between the governor, the General Assembly, and MoDOT to accomplish the goals for the state. But it starts with you and your team putting everything together. So thank you very much for the effort. I know it takes a lot of effort, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director?
One thing we haven't talked a lot about, but in the budget process that we ran through this year, I want to compliment Brenda and Todd and the whole team and the entire department. We ran through a zero-based budgeting process for the entire expense and equipment budget. That was a rigorous exercise, one that a lot of people wonder why on earth would you go through that? But it's just to look fresh on a regular basis at the justification for every dollar in your budget. And it's good practice. It was a good exercise. We learned a lot from doing it, and that'll be incorporated into future budgets. So great work by the team. A little extra duty is assigned that people took on with real vigor and did a great job.
Thank you, Director. Todd, thanks again. Appreciate it. Oh, we need action. Okay, so do we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation?
I'll move to approve it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hageman. Second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Recommendation passes. Thank you, Todd. Okay, moving into our public comment period. Members of the public who did not schedule a presentation before the commission may speak to the commission on transportation-related issues by having signed in at the registration desk by 9:30 a.m. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person, 10 minutes per subject. And I just got past a comment sheet. It looks like Perryville Mayor Larry Riney. The floor is yours, sir. Please come up. He's going to provide a comment today. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
That's a long walk from the back.
The first thing I'd like to do is thank the good Lord for allowing me to represent our fine citizens of Perryville and the work I do with my brothers and sisters in Perry County. Perryville and Perry County loves MoDOT. I am Perryville Mayor Larry Riney. I'm here today to offer a word of thanks to the Commissioners Boatwright and the entire MoDOT Commission. In recent years, we have worked closely with MoDOT and the Southeast Region staff to address many issues that have long presented challenges in our community. For example, last week, we started work on a complete runway reconstruction, replacing for the first time a runway that actually dates back to World War II. The month before, we were able to finish one of the very first governor cost shares in the entire state when we opened Vincentian Way, helping to alleviate some of the traffic congestion around exit 129 and McDonald's. Last year, and just a couple of miles away from our airport, MoDOT broke ground on the Chester Bridge, ensuring interstate commerce and travel for our region. In recent years, we have been selected for several TAP grants, helping to put a walking and biking path along Highway 51, the very place where someone was killed several years ago when their bicycle was struck by a car. We currently have several phases of trails in various stages of construction and design, and excited to see them finished. This year, we have submitted Alma Drive for a 50-50 cost share, hoping to see a roundabout installed at one of our most dangerous and busiest intersections. This particular area is something we have asked MoDOT to study on more than one occasion, but never tested out for the traffic light. Recently, the aldermen have asked staff to explore a roundabout, and we contacted BFW Engineering to do just that. It now looks like together we have a solution which will improve both traffic flow and safety. None of these things would be possible without the investments that MoDOT is willing to make in our communities. Each of these projects would be too big for a city to accomplish alone, but together with our partners at MoDOT, we are able to do all of this and so much more. On behalf of our entire community, thank you. Thank you for your support and the efforts of Mark and his staff here in the Southeast Missouri. One final thing. Several years back, we hosted a commission meeting in Perryville at the American Tractor Museum. I wanted to let you know that the Buckheit family has just constructed an addition to the museum, which has essentially doubled the square foot and, more importantly, the number of tractors you can look at. We would love to see the commission return to Perryville for another meeting in the future, perhaps as soon as the Don Welge Memorial Bridge is complete and ready for dedication. Thank you so much for your time and all you do for the great citizens of Missouri.
Larry, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
I'd like to
Mr. Slade.
just make a comment, Mayor. First of all, thank you so much for joining us here today, and thank you for your leadership in Perryville. I visited Perryville a few times myself when I was mayor of St. Louis, running around the state, visiting various representatives that have an impact on the whole state, including the city of St. Louis. And I found your city to be a beautiful city, and visited it many times, and just wanted you to know that we appreciate your leadership, and thank you for coming here and joining us.
I would like to take all advantage of everything that Perryville has done, but without our wonderful staff at City Hall, Crystal Jones, our EDA director, has joined me today to give me a little support. But thank you, Mr. Slay. I do have a sister who lives in St. Louis, and St. Louis is an outstanding community as well.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Larry.
Thank you.
So we're going to go off script here, and I'm going to pass it off to Director McKenna. He has an announcement that he would like to make to the group.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see by the meeting today, what a talented team. I've never been more confident in the future of MoDOT, in the stewardship of this massive system that we're tasked with doing, and with the leadership of the commission. To say that this has been an amazing time in Missouri transportation is an understatement. It's been a blessing for me to be a part of this, and it's also a good time to recognize when it's time to move on, and that's what I'll be doing. I notified the commission yesterday of my intent to depart and to move on to the next chapter in my life. I have some family obligations to attend to, and I feel that the department is in good hands. I know the commission and I have actively worked on succession plans throughout my entire tenure, and we have a fantastic team in place, and I know the commission has a plan that there will be no gap in leadership. I want the whole team to understand that. It's been an absolute joy and a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Director, thank you. And, it's saying goodbye is always tough, but I will say that getting to know you the last 4 years, getting to see where your leadership has taken this department is absolutely incredible. And when you came into this department, we were talking about a $325 million a year or a $1.7 billion 5-year STIP. And a few months back, we passed a $14.6 billion STIP. When you look at that time period that we're talking about from 2015 to today, this MoDOT, this department, has absolutely overshadowed every other DOT in this country. That's incredible. I think the closest that we have has increased about 70%. So that difference to me is it tells the story in itself. The other thing that I want to say is the team that you have built across the department is impressive. And the comments that you made about the confidence that you have in them, I share that confidence. We have a historic opportunity in front of us with the funding that we have been entrusted with by the General Assembly and the governor. And there's no doubt in my mind, this team that we have will execute that flawlessly. So just to wrap things up, thank you for coming to Missouri and providing us 8 years of your service. And thank you for putting us on a path that is going to lead Missouri, but that has led Missouri, quite frankly, to being the best in the country. So, Director, thank you. So at the end of the commission meeting, we typically go around the table to give each commissioner an opportunity to comment on the meeting. And today, we're going to start with Commissioner Baker.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure here to be in Poplar Bluff. My first time to be in Poplar Bluff, and the hospitality has been remarkable, and to learn about the district, the size of the district, and the complexity, and just really appreciate all the sharing of information that's taken place while we've been here is so truly appreciated. The work that's being done is remarkable, and just want to say thank you to all who played a role in that. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hegeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too want to echo your hospitality here has been great, and appreciate the opportunity to get around the state. To see some flat land is kind of nice too. I'm from Northwest Missouri, where we don't have much of that except on the Missouri River, and so it's nice to see that. Just also want to take this opportunity to thank the director for his service. He and I have had some disagreements in the past, but he's always been very professional and since I've been on the commission at the beginning of this year, have gained a tremendous amount of respect for his dedication, his service, his giving of himself to this organization to make it better and what it is today. He's got a lot to be proud of as he takes on a new challenge. That's going to be great for him and his family. So thank you, Director. I appreciate the opportunity to get the chance to know you a little better than what we had before, but and good luck to you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hageman. Commissioner Slay.
Turn this on here. It is a pleasure for me personally to be back in Poplar Bluff. I've been here before in various other capacities. Visited here with Todd Richardson, who was the Speaker of House of Representatives the last time I was here. And I also had, when I was practicing law, I had a client who his name was Jim Belknap, who I think Mr. Robeson mentioned, a civic leader here in Poplar Bluff. And he had apparently had some peach orchards that they were either his or somebody he knew. And he used to send me a couple of boxes of peaches every single year. And he was a wonderful guy. He introduced to me when I was mayor of St. Louis, the youngest mayor at the time in the history of the United States of America, or certainly at the time, he was the youngest mayor in the United States of America, and that was Scott Fawn. And some of you, if you have any people here from Poplar Bluff, you would know who Scott Fawn is. He's a publisher of the Missouri Times and some other publications as well, and a political operative in Jefferson City, well known. I also had an uncle who was a Catholic priest in this area, including Poplar Bluff, Dexter, Scott City, and he was Father Slay back in the 50s and 60s, and he coincidentally married Jim Belknap and his wife. So it was just good. There's a connection here. There's always been a kind of not that I spent a lot of time in Poplar Bluff, but a familial and a political connection I had, and a friendship connection with Poplar Bluff and some of the people here. It's great to be back.
Thank you, Commissioner Slay. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, it is always good to be back in Poplar Bluff. I think this is about my third trip down here in the last few years. And just to echo what you said about the director, I was fortunate enough to be on the commission when we hired him. Him and I had a truce that he would stay and we'd go out together. But I'm sorry.
That in the fine print, it was just for your term, and you've continued on quite a lot beyond that. But
you always say that. No, but I wish Patrick all the luck in the world, and I know that when he come here, we challenged him with some huge things. None of you guys were there, but you know what we challenged him with, and he has fulfilled all those. And I'm really going to miss him, and I really, really value his friendship. I better shut up or I'm going to be like Bob Brinkman.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Erdman.
Well, like everyone else, thanks to Poplar Bluff, Butler County for hosting us here. Remarkable community. I hadn't been here in a while and drove around, and just want to congratulate you on the investment you're making in your community. Today, I think any of us can't reach any conclusion other than to want to express our deep, heartfelt gratitude to Patrick McKenna. Patrick McKenna will be seen by history as a transformational figure in Missouri. A transformational figure in Missouri. Not all Missourians may have the up-close witness of that we do, but it's true. What he has done for transportation in Missouri is epic and transformational. And on behalf of all Missourians, I want to express our gratitude. It's not easy to pick up your family from New England, New Hampshire, and move to Jefferson City, Missouri, and put your kids in school and keep the family happy. And he did all of it, and he transformed MoDOT along the way. And we're all very grateful for that. For our MoDOT colleagues and the public at large, I want to assure you that the commission is not going to allow any gap in the leadership of the department. We learned yesterday of the director's decision to move on to new opportunity, and we're sorry to see him go, but I do want to assure everyone in the state of Missouri, our elected and political leadership, as well as all of the employees, that this commission will make sure that there is no gap in leadership, because this is an epic time for the department. We have more projects underway with more expectation, more demand than in the history of the department, and there will be no gap, and we will continue to execute, as Chairman Boatwright has indicated is our top priority. So with that, again, I express heartfelt gratitude to the director for all that he's done. I'm confident we'll have an opportunity to flesh this out with some more detail in the weeks ahead. In the meantime, we wish you well and thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Erdman. Director, I think I've said all that I'd like to say on the topic. The only thing that I will add is the leadership that you've provided here. You also have that leadership role in your family, and for you to prioritize them, it says a lot about your character. So while we will miss you in Missouri, we can certainly all appreciate that you're putting your family first. So I thank you for that. Before we adjourn, I want to note that our next meeting is scheduled for September 5th, 2024 in Springfield, Missouri. With that, do we have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.